Okay, good afternoon, Wednesday afternoon. It's time to get serious about the potential for a significant snowstorm over a good chunk of what appears to be now southern and western Minnesota, and then extending southeast into northern Iowa and extreme southwestern Wisconsin. What you're looking at now is a travel impact map. This is just updated by myself. And you can see my confidence is fairly high that a winter storm with snow probably in excess of a half a foot, maybe even snow totals close to a foot now, is gonna fall from southeastern North Dakota, extreme northeastern South Dakota, and then extending southeast to probably the southern and western Twin Cities metro down to Mankato, and then continuing southeast to near Rochester, and then of course that moderate risk area around the high risk, which basically covers much, if not all, of southern Minnesota, and then portions of western Minnesota extending northwest back up into North Dakota, and then continuing southeast into northern Illinois. So it's going to be a far-reaching snowstorm, the way it appears now, with the access of heaviest snows, or at least most difficult travel conditions from near Jamestown, North Dakota, even Bismarck, North Dakota, southeast to the southwestern Twin Cities suburbs, Mankato, and then continuing southeast to Rochester. Anywhere along and south, I think, of the I-94 corridor now is going to be the area that needs to be watched the most here over the next 48 hours as this storm system approaches. And keep in mind, the storm system is still about 2 to 3 days away, so it's going to take a little time yet for it to reach us. But it really looks good at the present time for significant snow in our area. Of course, it's March. We're getting into late March. This is the perfect time for a big and what some would consider a surprise snowstorm, because often we get them this time of year. All right, here is, I'm going to show you some concerns that I have and some reasons why I think this is going to be a big snowstorm. This is the European computer model, and what you're looking at right now is the jet stream. This is the river of air at about 25 to 30,000 feet in our atmosphere. And you know how much I like to talk about the jet stream. And this is the jet stream now from the European computer model. And let's go to Friday evening's jet stream structure. And here you see a jet streak now east of Minnesota, okay? And this is basically extending from northern Michigan and northern Lake Superior southeast into eastern Michigan. And the reason why this is important is because this jet streak, on the base of this jet streak, so that would be right about here, which would be basically all of Minnesota and portions of western Wisconsin, that's usually where we get significant lift, okay? What also happens, and the reason why this jet streak is so important, is that usually right at the edge of this jet streak, which would be over Wisconsin, eastern Wisconsin, Lake Michigan, western Michigan, right there is usually where a wall develops. And what I mean by a wall is I'm talking about a wall of dry air, because we get dry air that's pouring out of Canada due to this jet streak. And it's pouring out of Canada, basically moving south-southeast into the eastern US. And again, it sets up a wall of dry air. And this looks like it's set up over Wisconsin as we head into Friday evening. And then even as we look into Saturday morning at this jet stream structure, you can see it doesn't move very much. That wall of dry air is still going to be located over Wisconsin. And this is a red flag with this snowstorm. There is going to be a very sharp, a razor sharp snow gradient from west to east as we go from Minnesota into Wisconsin, Friday night and into Saturday. A real tight gradient. And that's something we're going to need to watch out for, because it's still a little up in the air on where this gradient of snow and no snow sets up. But right now, I am thinking, due to the jet stream structure, that it's going to set up from somewhere around Duluth to near Eau Claire, and then continuing southeast to near Madison, Wisconsin. That's where I think the wall of dry air is going to set up. Now, this is a great, beautiful looking jet structure. Remember, we always look for S's in the jet stream, and here we have one right here. There's an S that has developed right over Minnesota. Okay, this is conducive for storm development, and in some cases, it's going to be intense storm development because at the nose of this jet streak over Kansas, this is the jet streak right here in Kansas. On the nose of that jet streak and at the base of this jet streak, right here, so that would be southern Minnesota, this is where intense lift usually occurs with a jet structure such as this. So long story short, the jet stream really looks favorable for a major winter storm over southern Minnesota and extreme western Wisconsin as we head into Saturday morning. Now, remember I talked about that dry air? I'm going to show you the humidity levels at the mid layers of our atmosphere. And I know this is getting a little complicated, but this is very important. This is at about 5 to 10,000 feet in our atmosphere. It's 700 millibars. And this white area is deep moisture, okay? So it looks like western Minnesota and southern Minnesota will be in deep moisture as we head into Saturday morning. But look at this wall of dry air that basically extends from about Duluth, southeast to Eau Claire, and then continuing southeast to Madison, Wisconsin. That is the dry air that is going to shut down snow as it tries to move east from Minnesota into Wisconsin as we go through Saturday morning. So again, where this wall of dry air sets up, that is going to determine who gets snow, who doesn't. We're going to be talking about snow totals that are going to range from a foot as you get into the western Twin Cities metro probably, and then areas further south and west of there, to nearly nothing, and probably nothing as you get into the Spooner, Wisconsin, Hayward, Wisconsin areas, maybe Eau Claire. So there will be a very tight gradient of 6 to 12 inches of snow over a short drive as we head into Saturday morning. And again, one more time, I'm expecting that to set up from about Duluth to near Eau Claire to Madison, Wisconsin. Okay, now let's zoom in a little bit on the European computer model and let's take a look at snow totals. Give me one moment. This is hot off the press, by the way. This is the first time I'm seeing this too. This is snow accumulations, total snow accumulations expected from the European computer model as we head into Saturday afternoon. Now, this is by Saturday afternoon. And it definitely shows you that a wall of dry air is going to extend from Duluth to Eau Claire to Madison. There you see it. That's that sharp snow gradient. And then as you head west and south of that sharp gradient or that wall of dry air, snow totals really get serious. They explode over southern and western Minnesota. So these areas in yellow, that's over half a foot of snow, and that would include basically the southwestern half of the Twin Cities metro, and even some areas of Carver and Scott counties. And then as you continue to head southeast towards Rochester, Minnesota, these areas are looking at snow totals in excess of 8 inches, the way it appears as we get into Saturday afternoon and evening. And that's when I expect the snow to finally come to an end, would be Saturday later in the afternoon or in the early evening hours of Saturday. So no doubt that this wall of dry air is going to be pronounced, and it is going to be a very tricky forecast for all weather outlets as we go through the next 24 to 48 hours trying to determine where this wall of dry air sets up. Now, let's look at some other computer model guidances. In fact, this is the Canadian computer model guidance. It's basically showing the same thing as the European computer model guidance. These are snow totals through Saturday evening, and you can see much of southern Minnesota, basically from Rochester and the southern and western Twin Cities metro on northwest into North Dakota. We're talking about snow totals in excess of 6 inches in these areas, in some areas close to, if not exceeding, a foot of snow. But in general, much of southern Minnesota in that 6 to 10 inch snow range, with the very sharp cutoff to the snow as you head north and east from the Twin Cities metro. We will compare that to the GFS computer model. Snow totals from the GFS computer model, very similar. Again, 6 to 10 inches of snow over much of southern and western Minnesota, extending back northwest into the Dakotas. And then look at this, no snow, nothing in Duluth, nothing in Hayward, Spooner, nothing even in Eau Claire, if you were to believe the GFS computer model. In fact, nothing even in the northeastern Twin Cities metro. So where this sharp gradient sets up is going to be very tricky for forecasters. Now, looking at one of the latest short-term computer models, this is the NAM computer model guidance, showing basically the same thing. We are going to really be focusing in on that sharp gradient as we head into the next 24 to 48 hours of our forecast. But a long story short, we need to start preparing for significant snow over much of southern and western Minnesota and portions of southern and western Wisconsin, the extreme western and southern portions of Wisconsin, as we head into Friday night and Saturday. I really think a good geographic dividing point on who's going to get snow and who isn't is going to be the Mississippi River. So basically from about Bemidji on southeast through the Twin Cities metro and then continuing southeast to La Crosse, Wisconsin. Anywhere along and south of the Mississippi River, that's where snow totals will increase quickly. And then, of course, as you go north and east of the Mississippi River, snow totals will decrease rapidly. As far as timing of this storm system is concerned, I expect snow to begin during the evening hours of Friday and then end sometime Saturday afternoon. And of course, we will fine tune that timing as we get closer to the event. All right, take care. We'll be updating you a lot more over the next 2 to 3 days. Bye-bye.